Oh, well, yes, okay. Hi, this is Dan LoFat, and I am LoFat. Uh, I'm talking, kind of pushing through a little bit of leftover laryngitis, which seems to be clearing up. I saw a funny bit today. I saw someone's, I forget who has it. Is it Uber or Lyft? It has the purple indicator in the windshield when they're going somewhere to an active call, or they're just letting people know they're an Uber or Lyft driver. I forget. I saw one in a semi-truck today, the semi-truck windshield, and I thought to myself, well, this is cool. This guy's picking people up and half their load. He'll take you across the country to where you got to take your load in your body. I don't know. I thought it was pretty interesting. So I started this short stream here to talk about something that you may run into when you're delivering packages or food. You may come to a property, a private property, say an office building or manufacturing or maybe even a government facility, which will have its own set of rules as well. But where there's a guardhouse where you check in verbally, you tell them you're delivering food to, maybe they want the customer's name or the employee's name, and then you'll be instructed to go back to a loading dock. Now, when you're going in an office building or in a front area in a lobby, and there's usually security there, and generally speaking, when you go up to security, if you're going to be delivering to an office in that building, sometimes you're asked to sign in, excuse me, maybe even show ID and sign in. They may, in fact, want to photocopy the ID. Unfortunately, and that's one thing. It's up to you if you want to do that. You're under no legal obligation to allow anyone to photograph your photo ID if you're just delivering packages. Now, this comes into, you're going to have to have a certain type of commercial liability insurance. This isn't the same as commercial insurance for your vehicle to do on-demand deliveries, which is becoming more and more of a thing, and something to really consider. On a basic level, it can actually end up being cheaper than your personal insurance. So think about that. I happen to use Geico commercial insurance. Their tow package is $60 a month, and they will pay up to $100 for a tow. Well, when you think about it, for the most part, you're going to be out of town when you need a tow. You do want somebody in town, but depending on where you want to take the car, that's a minimum $100. And then think over 12 months, you're spending over $600 a year. About $720 a year, just to have the peace of mind to save $100 on a tow, which you may only need one tow once a year at all, right? Think about that. You can also think of it in this way. You're try to put away $50 a month, set it aside for things like that. It's probably more prudent than any other thing than paying that much for a tow package. And it's literally with Geico, that's all it is. It covers a tow. It doesn't give you a loaner car, nothing like that. There may be discounts on rental car. I don't know. The problem with that, the reason I went to Geico is because Progressive doesn't have an underwriter that does on-demand delivery for commercial. They don't have a Gap and they don't have commercial. In other words, they don't have it for on-demand delivery. And that's a specific type. Geico has taken it upon themselves to do on-demand delivery specific with personal Gap when you're not in an active delivery. And that's a very nice thing to have. Okay, that all said, commercial liability insurance is not that. It's a separate thing. It covers you when you go onto someone else's property or when you go up to a loading dock and you deliver something to a loading dock. It gives you certain rights to not have to do certain things that generally employees of a facility would have to do, like sign in at the loading dock, that kind of thing. You don't really have to sign in at the loading dock unless you're going to deliver to somewhere inside the property, like an office or a storeroom or something of that nature. If you're just dropping something off at the loading dock, you absolutely do not have to sign in. So that's something to consider. However, you will run into some overzealous security guards and security companies. There are a few particulars that come to mind that will insist that it is their policy that all visitors they will say all visitors must sign in. Well, you need to clarify to them you're not a visitor. You won't be staying there. You have no intention of visiting. You are merely delivering food. And they may or may not understand, but they could say, if you put a bag of food on their loading dock, they can say that you're trespassing. However, there's a problem with that. For one thing, a delivery person in their course of duties cannot be trespassed. In other words, during performing their duties. If they were there to just like hang around and kibitz with people, all right. Now, if they've got a trespass against them, let's say a letter of trespass, then you can't hang around. You've got to do your thing and leave. All right. That said, it really depends on the type of facility it is. If it's a government facility and there's some kind of an issue where they want you to photocopy your ID, or even if you're not entering the building, they want to know who is on the property and for what reason. That's kind of a take it with a grain of salt. You can only take your personal liberties, your Fourth Amendment so far. So, be aware of that. You don't want to have a mark against you that is on your criminal record of an actual trespass, which could foul up your background check with DoorDash or Uber, Lyft, or whoever. So keep that in mind. All right, now let's I'll briefly talk about what trespass is. The trespass is, generally, it starts out like this. You get into some altercation or argument with a security guard. Security guard says you're not allowed on the property anymore. Whether or not he's authorized to do that doesn't matter. Generally, what will happen, he'll talk to a supervisor with you present or after you've left, either way, depending on why you're there and how long you need to be there for delivery. And then you may end up talking with a supervisor, you may not. You may end up talking with a police officer, you may not. But it will all surround a protocol that they have. They may end up sending a letter to the police department that handles their area. By the way, it's not called a jurisdiction. Jurisdictions are where court is held and how that's handled. It has nothing to do with police departments and what they survey. All right, so the police department of, let's say, XYZ police department in town XYZ for this business that doesn't want you on their property anymore. All right, well, they want to trespass you. Again, in your course of delivery, they may have to ignore that, but in general, they just don't want you around talking to them, right? So a letter will be sent to that police department. Usually, if they have any information about you, like they ran your plate or they took a picture of your license plate or they did get a photocopy of your ID at some point, then the police department will attempt to notify you and a copy of the letter from the company letting you know that you're not welcome there. And it depends on how it's worded. They could say, for the next 6 months, for the next year, or forever, right? We don't want you, unless he has business here, we don't want him here. That's typically how they're worded. And if you're delivering, well, you have business there. Okay. Well, let's say that happens and you get that, and you are contacted, you get the letter. You have to be contacted with some form of a letter, something formal. Generally, they'll have a copy of that letter at all guard houses, and then if your plate matches as you roll up, they will then match it, and they'll hand you the letter, and at that point, you can then make a decision and look for the wording unless you have business. If that wording is not there, you turn and leave and don't go back and follow the letter of that letter. And the reason why is getting that letter and having you named in that letter is not a part of your criminal record, and it never will be. A higher level background check, which isn't part of most of these food delivery platforms, I don't believe it's part of Lyft, might reveal a letter like that. That's possible, but it's not part of your criminal record. Only if you go back after receiving that letter will you then be arrested for trespass if you're found on the property by police. You cannot be detained by security guards or anyone that operates that property for purposes of keeping you there to then have police come and arrest you. They have to give you the opportunity. They have to tell you, you're trespassing, please leave. We've already called the police. They have to give you that warning anytime you step on their property from the point of getting that letter. If you're found by police on that property, but you shouldn't, it doesn't mean you won't be, but you shouldn't be arrested for trespassing if you've left. But again, the point of it is, don't go there. If you're not supposed to be there, and if you don't have business there, then don't go there. It's a rarity, but it can happen. Again, I'll finish up with the background check. Higher level background checks can reveal the letter and may or may not affect employment with certain jobs, certainly government jobs, if you want a job as a postal worker. Black lane, which is a high-end specific type of person delivery system, I guess you can say. I wouldn't say that it's anything like a Jason Statham movie, but it's high end. It's Uber XL on steroids. Black lane is, pick you up at the airport, take you to the hotel, take your cleaning, bring your cleaning back, be available for you while you're in town, 8 hours a day, 24/7, whatever it takes. And you're paid commensurately for that. Has a very high-level background check, as high level as a reality show. And yes, reality shows have high level. I believe they call it category 4 or level 4. They interview your 9 surrounding neighbors. They go back to your first grade teacher if they're still alive. They look at all your school records, any disciplinaries if you've ever had in school, all the jobs you've ever worked. That's a level 4, and that's usually reserved for high government jobs. And again, as I said, reality shows and black lane. Excuse me. So there you go. I just wanted to get that out there in case you have a problem with a security person and you feel like your Fourth Amendment rights, your privacy of information, all you're doing is delivering. They don't even need to know your first name, although the customer you deliver to can tell them your first name. It's in their app. But, when that kind of thing gets back to DoorDash or gets back to maybe Caviar, it could be different, but gets back to Grubhub, it's like, well, was he arrested? No, okay, this is nothing. Caviar having been purchased by DoorDash, again, DoorDash is going to be in charge of those things. It's probably going to be nothing, but it can happen. We've all been there. We've all had arguments or, our tete-a-tetes with, the occasional, unprofessional, rude manager of a restaurant. Any number of things can happen, right? So just to give you a heads up on kind of how that goes in general. If I've made any mistakes here by as far as what I know of the law and what I found out earlier today from a couple of local police departments on how that goes in general, please let me know, because it could be different in different states. It could be different in the same state between different police departments and how they treat it. Like I said, if we find you on the property, generally that literally means the police themselves have to see you on the property in order to legally trespass you and charge you with the crime of trespassing. Just hearing it from a guard who said, yeah, he was on the property. Well, he's not here now. Okay, well, we're not going to pull him over and, and arrest him because we can't, because we didn't see him on the property. However, I could be wrong about that in certain situations. It could just be they witnessed you, they have a photograph you, they have video of you on the property. You weren't delivering, you weren't doing your duties. Why were you there? Well, there again can be the problem. So don't be the problem. Find solutions. Stay ahead of the game, and keep your head down when you need to. Keep your head up when you're supposed to. All right. I hope that helps anybody.